Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kirsten, also known as Aphaia Creates, and this is what I hope will be the very first episode in my forthcoming podcast series, which I'm hoping to do every month, where I take you through what I've been doing in the previous month in terms of my creative endeavours. So this will probably follow a fairly similar structure to what you see with other podcast series. It'll probably take me 2 or 3 episodes just to figure out exactly how this works for me, but we'll be covering things like knitting, spinning, Lego, and whatever else I've been doing creatively. So hopefully that sounds a lot of fun and you'll stick around to enjoy it. So I am going to start with knitting, and I've actually finished 2 projects in June, and neither of these are a release pattern yet. And this is a design I've been working on for a little while, and it doesn't really have a name, but I have a hat and I also have a pair of coordinating mittens. Now obviously I realise a heat wave in Europe is exactly the time to start doing autumn and winter items of clothing. My timing is less than exquisite, but I had a lot of fun doing these and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the design develops. So these are done in Highland Magic Fibre Arts, and this is their reclaimed lamb's wool. And this is a yarn I picked up at the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase in March this year. And it was a batch of mini skeins in 5 shades. There was a light purple, a sort of mid purple, and then 3 different shades of peach, sort of dark, medium and light. And basically I used about 70 odd grams for the hat, and I had just over, I think about 39 grams left, and I did the mitts with those, and I added in a bit of Jamieson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight just to make them a little bit better in terms of size. And these mitts are actually knit from the sort of finger end first, so it meant I was able to use up all of the yarn, and that's something I do quite like doing with mittens, just because sometimes you've got yarn left over and you want to use it all, and trying to judge sometimes going sort of cuff upwards can be a bit trickier. So yeah, so those will be coming out hopefully sometime later this year. I need to get those into editing and testing, but if you're interested in those, keep an eye out. And in terms of finished projects, that's all I've got knitting wise. I have been working on various whips, so excuse me, I was going to grab my bag of remnants here, because this has my mini Mania Scarf, which is something I started way back in 2004, but I actually frogged everything and restarted it this year. And as you can see, I have got quite a bit more knitted on this. And this is a pattern by Lady Danio, and you can see it's done in linen stitch. And I really, really love this stitch pattern. I think it's such a nice one for blending colours together. And it even looks really pretty on the back as well. Maybe not that bit with the ends. And during Sock Madness, I was adding in a row, basically 2 rows of every single yarn I used for my socks, starting from, let me see, so starting all the way down here with the socks I used for my socks a la mode, and it goes all the way through right up to the yarn I am currently using for the round 7 socks, but all the bonuses and everything. And as you can see, I've actually got quite a few inches of this now done. So I've got lots of remnants. Some of these are just little oddballs from previous projects. A lot of them are little oddments now from Sock Madness, and others are just random things I chucked in the bag. But that's ongoing. Now this is obviously a very long-term project. I have no idea how deep I want to make it. Knowing me, I do like a large shawl, so it'll probably be quite large. That's yarn, that's not the tie for the bag. Let's put that away. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on, but I'm kind of viewing that as a long-term thing, and it doesn't really need to be finished within any set amount of time. In terms of my other whips that I had hanging over from 2025, I have the Camille Wrap cardigan, the Ghost Whisperer top, and the Twisted Tea shirt. I have done, in 2026, I have knitted absolutely 0 of any of them. And while I am going to leave the Camille Wrap cardigan and the Ghost Whisperer on the needles, I have made the decision to frog the Twisted Tea shirt. and I'm going to reskein the yarn and soak it and get the stitches out. And I think that'll make me feel a bit happier in terms of how many projects I do have on the needles at the moment. The other two I am not going to frog because they're both mohair based, and I would like to get those finished. I'm probably not going to be knitting on them over the summer, just because mohair fluff in hotter weather. I know I live in Scotland, but it has been quite warm up here even so. And I think that's probably better. So I'm not putting any pressure on myself to finish either the Camille wrap or the Ghost Whisperer in the next couple of months, but I would like both of those done before the end of the year. But I think frogging another project from 2025 is completely fine and justifiable. And I can always knit the t-shirt again. It's not stopping me. I might very well knit it again with the same yarns, or I might look for something different. But either way, I think that's a better option for me. In terms of other whips that I have on the needles, I have put them somewhere. In terms of newer whips, I have cast on the final socks for Sock Madness 20, and these are the round 7 pattern, which are the 3-in-1 socks, which are knit in 3 different colours of yarn, but there's actually 4 balls attached, and they're worked in a helical fashion, and they've got slip stitch cables and patterning and everything. And as you can see, I've really got a long way into them. This is only my first sock. I hadn't even cast these on before all 3 final spots were finished in the competition. So I'm not viewing these as a must get done immediately kind of pattern. They'll probably just be one I work on over the next few months. But my basic aim is to have these finished before the next Sock Madness, because that feels appropriate. Although, to be fair, this year I did finish a pair of socks from last year's Sock Madness in February. So I think that's reasonable. I've got plenty of time. But yeah, the pattern's are really, really cool on these. It's sort of, you can turn it inside out and work it back to front and everything, and it's quite fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those develop. And obviously any of the patterns I mentioned in this, I will link down below if there is a pattern for them. Obviously in the case of the hat and mittens, there isn't one yet. And the other thing I've got is hiding in this bag, and I have started work on a new shawl, and it's an all over texture one with a gradient mini skein set, and these are the mini balls from Wee County Yarns, and they're just of these little ones. And I got a gradient set of 10 again at the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase. So I'm working up those, and so far I'm very happy with how it's going. But I'm not going to show you anything too close of that because it might be something that's forthcoming. But we will have to wait and see. So in terms of knitting, that's kind of everything I've done. It's been a very, very quiet month. With the end of Sock Madness, I usually do take a bit of time just to give my hands a break. And certainly towards the end of May, I really pushed myself a bit too hard. And as I alluded to in the previous episode from Tangled Gala Shields, I kind of overdid it and spent quite a lot of June recovering and getting my health back to something more of an even keel. But obviously now I'm feeling better. I want to do all the things, which is exactly what got me into this problem in the first place. So I'm trying to be good in pacing myself. I'm trying. That's basically it. In terms of acquiring new crafting supplies, I've been very good. I did pick up some jewellery making findings and a few bits and pieces from Hobbycraft last month, but I've not really done anything with those. So that's something to bear in mind for future episodes. I might be fiddling around with that, and I do have some other stuff in stash. But in terms of new, I've been very, very good. The only things I have coming are hopefully in the post this week, actually, which would be really lovely. I've got some more of the interchangeable cables for my knit pro sets, and I've got some more of the swivel ones coming because I did really like those. And I have 2 balls of yarn arriving, which will hopefully be going straight into a gift. So they're barely counting as new into stash, but they should be pretty much in and straight out again, so that's nice. I have been trying to make an effort of the yarns I've been acquiring this year. I've got plans to try and knit them up this year, so I'm not actively adding to my larger stash problem. It's not really a problem. It's just I'm trying not to put stuff into long-term sort of stash, if you know what I mean. I'm trying to keep things moving and slowly working through the yarn that is in storage, sort of in slow chunks, to bring it down to a more reasonable level. Now, in terms of other things that I've been doing, it has mainly been Lego. And obviously I had the Lego show at Awesome Bricks in the middle of this month, which was a lot of fun. And I had a really lovely time. And I got to bring some new builds with me, which are these little guys. And I really love doing builds which are derived off TV, film, cartoons, video games. But inspired by my neighbour Totoro, we have my little collection of the main Totoro that you see in the film. And it's got a little tail. I'm very, very happy with these. And I just think they're so much fun. So these are builds that I've designed myself. I did it in a Lego design program called Studio, which you can download for free from Bricklink. And they're just so cute. So this is obviously the main one. And I designed him first. It was a lot of fun just trying to get all the curves and everything right. And then for his stomach and his little sort of markings, I actually have a little thermal printer. It obviously only does black, but it does do it onto clear sticky back plastic. I sound like a Blue Peter presenter. And that means I can do the little markings as well, which I also did for this little guy. So these are my new little friends. They've been living in the living room with Evie just behind me for most of it, but they were in a box for the show. So yeah, so I've been working on those. I'm still doing some other bits and pieces from other Ghibli movies. I've got plans to do quite a few different characters. And I am currently at the moment in the middle of trying to make the cat bus. And I'll show you some pictures of how that's going. But I'm having a whole lot of fun with that. It is slightly deranged looking, and I absolutely love it for that. Something else I've been doing, which has been a bit of a more long-term project with my Lego, is I've been working on a series of custom minifigs. So I realise they're in a frame and they're not easy to see. But these are all playable characters from the franchise Assassin's Creed. And I currently have 15 of these complete. Basically characters from Black Flag onwards. I still have a lot of the older games and some of the other ones to fit in. And I have about 10 left to do. So as part of the design process, I've got things like sketches just of costumes, colours, the kind of weapons they use and everything. And when I was at Awesome Bricks this year in the middle of June, they had a stall which was selling Lego compatible accessories, which often includes a lot more variety in terms of things like swords and everything. So I was able to pick up a few pieces of custom armour and weaponry that will make this a lot easier. I am planning on doing a series talking about creating custom minifigs, sort of sourcing it from the Lego parts to actually adapting bits and pieces and how you can customise them. So that's something to keep an eye out in the future. Now, in terms of looking ahead into July, obviously I'd like to keep going with my knitting and my Lego and everything, but the main thing I'm going to be starting this month is Tour de Fleece, and this is my very first year actually participating in that event. I'm going to be doing it with the Sock Madness group on Ravelry, that's my team. But I'm going to be digging out my wheel, finding my fibre, finding all the other bits of the wheel that are stashed in places all across this flat, and hopefully having some really, really nice new yarn to play with at the end of the sequence. So that, the Tour de Fleece is running, let me just check my diary. What is the last page I get to? So the Tour de Fleece itself is running from Saturday the 4th of July all the way through to Sunday the 26th. And I will be spinning every day that the cyclists are cycling. And I think with there's 2 rest days marked in on Monday the 13th and Monday the 20th. So we do get a little bit of a break. And then in August, there is also the Tour de Fleece Femmes, which corresponds with the women's cycle race. And that's from the 1st of August through to Saturday the 1st of August through to Sunday the 9th. So hopefully I will also be doing that one as well. But yeah, I need to find my wheel, get it all warmed up and make sure I've got everything I need. So that'll be a bit of fun. And there will be a small bonus episode coming out on Friday this week, which will just be going over some of the prep for the Tour de Fleece proper. So that about wraps up everything I was doing in June, and also gives you a little bit of insight into what I'm going to be doing in July. And as I said, hopefully this will become a regular feature on the channel, just a little monthly podcast, just to basically give you a good idea of everything that I've been up to. So if you enjoyed this, why not click the like button, and if you want to see more from me, hit subscribe. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!